Hello there everyone, and welcome back to the next Muunilinst mock update video. And in this video, as you can see behind the troops here, I start to work on one of the first buildings slash structures of the main city area. So it's a very exciting episode. I'm going to keep this short, so without any further ado, let's get started. Alright guys, so I got a ton of really good feedback once again from you guys on the previous episode, so thank you so much for that. I read through all of them and I've been taking them into consideration, and I will start implementing them soon, but for this episode I actually wanted to work on a few things first before I start implementing some of that feedback. First things first here, as you can see, I have now redid this middle part. Last episode it was all tiles. I now fixed it so it now looks the same as these other two, so now they all have the studs instead of the tiles. So now it looks pretty good. I'm happy with it. Everything's looking really good. The whole entrance area, everything about it I think is looking really good. Also, one quick kind of plug here, I actually did build that middle part, like putting the studs and everything like that. I actually did a live stream, so this is my first big kind of live stream for Muunilinst, and it was really fun. A good amount of people tuned in, and we had a whole bunch of good conversations, including lots of Star Wars stuff, but in particular, Commander Fox. Does he deserve all the hate he got? Was he put in a bad position? We kind of talked about his philosophy and mindset with that whole 5 situation, everything like that, but lots of like detailed topics like that is what we got into. So it was a really fun stream. I'm going to be doing those more often, so be on the lookout for Muunilinst live streams on my channel. It was definitely a ton of fun, so I hope you guys can join if you did not join last time. So now that I've gotten the entrance area mostly looking good, again, a few comments of you guys saying that I should modify a few things. I will get to those. And then last episode, I mentioned this, and I also saw some few comments on it. I will be kind of making this more battle damaged as we move on to the rest of the part. I just like the way it looks right now, like it all like standing clean and tall. I kind of like that right now, but it will be more battle damaged once I move on and kind of build the rest of the buildings in the city. Speaking of that, I think it is time right now. I want to go ahead and move on to the city portion. I'm going to start on a few buildings today, either 1 or 2. I don't know exactly. I haven't planned out the whole city yet. I just know I had that plan to do like a destroyed section of the city. So we've got like a destroyed section, and then we move on to like the actual standing section where there's lots of big tall buildings. So right now for today's episode, I want to start to work on the destroyed section. I'll probably prototype a few different buildings, so not really too sure yet. I just wanted to let you guys know that I will be working on part of the city for this update. So it's going to be very exciting. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, guys, so this is kind of the first area I'm going to work on here, is this kind of small destroyed section of a building. I'm going to go ahead and put a screenshot up on the screen right now to show you guys what area I'm kind of talking about. You can see a few kind of flat building structures where some of the pillars are still standing and there's like a floor, but everything else is kind of destroyed around it. That's kind of the section I want to build here today. So I think one kind of building right over here, and then as we go over to this side, another one right over here. That's kind of the plan at the moment. Now, for the rest of the city, again, this entrance area will be a lot more destroyed, and then we move on to the back, and it's going to be a lot more of the tall, standing buildings with kind of some narrow streets and stuff like that. I actually did end up adding in a new row of plates. As you can see down there, I added a 16 by 16 plate, and then a row of like 8 by 8 plates, I think. I just realized as I was planning I'm going to need more space, so I added in, so the MOC's even bigger now, just because I think I'm going to need some more space to kind of make sure everything in the city looks good and spatially good and everything like that. So the city is now going to be bigger, so that should be exciting. But for now, we're going to start to work on the destroyed section here, which I think should be pretty fun. So I just want to show you guys that quick screenshot. I'll put it up again on screen right now. That's what we will be working on partially in the next few episodes here, so it should be pretty fun. Okay, so here's kind of what I've come up with for a pillar design here. In the screenshots, you saw a whole bunch of different pillars that were kind of stacked up on top of each other, some destroyed, some still intact fully, so I went ahead and did this design. You can kind of see the overhang with the sand green and the plates. That was something I noticed from the screenshots, where there was kind of these overhanging sections to the pillars, and then the pillars built down kind of like this, and then using some inverted slopes down there to kind of give it a cool shape on the bottom. So I've went ahead and made 2 of these because I plan on doing 2 buildings with this kind of somewhat similar design. So here's kind of what I've got going for the pillar design. Right here, I'm going to go ahead and put that and start implementing it into the actual space where I want to make the building, but this is what I've got so far, and I plan to make this one like destroyed, if that makes sense. That's why there's a gap right there. So here's what I've got for the pillars, and the design, and I'm going to start to implement that into the actual building design itself. So I'll update you guys once I have some more progress. Alright guys, so I worked a little bit on the first couple building structures here. As you can see, this is what I've got going so far. The first thing I worked on were these kind of pillars. As you can see, I'm using the similar kind of cylinder pieces with grooves on them that I used in the battlefield area, stacking those on top of each other and then using some inverted pieces up on the top and then creating kind of that leveled plate on top with the sand green tiles. And I did the same exact thing over on this side. So now I've got the two right there, and those are kind of representing where each of these first buildings are going to go. And then right here, as you can see, I started on the outline of the building and one side of the wall. So this is the main detailed one because you won't see that back wall. It's going to be filled up, so you won't even see the back wall. So that's why I put all the detail into this one, and that'll be the height of the building, because from the screenshot you can see it's like kind of flat and smoothed out, and there's not really, it's kind of just goes up a little bit and then it's pretty flat across the top, as if like the whole building just disappeared from just being bombed out. So that's why it's so small, and it's small enough to where clones can still take cover behind it, and they can pop up and shoot over and stuff like that. So that wall is like that. I'm going to kind of replicate that design over on this side, and then after that I'll need to put the plates over it and kind of figure out what to do next, and add in some more destroyed elements. But I want to give you guys a quick update of what I've got going so far for the size of the building, and of course size reference there for the clone. The pillars need to be very tall because they need to be taller than the entrance, and they also need to represent kind of the size in some of the screenshots. So that's why those pillars are so tall. Hopefully that ends up working scale-wise once I get to the other buildings in the village or the city. But this is what I've got going so far. I'm going to keep working on this one, and I don't know if I'll get to this second building for this episode. That might have to be a separate episode. I think I'm just going to focus entirely this episode working on this design right here, making sure I get that looking really good. And here's kind of a quick look at what I used for this wall design. A very similar design to what I used as the ground in the trenches, except for using light gray instead of dark gray. So using lots of 1x1 bricks and plates and all sorts of stuff for sand green and light gray. Again, in the show, it's pretty much all sand green, but for color balance, I don't want to make just sand green buildings. I don't know if that'll look that good, so I'm kind of balancing it with light gray wherever I can. So here's kind of the design that I've got going for this kind of wall. Right here, I'm liking it so far. I kind of like the idea that it's going to fit in with the kind of the trenches and some of the battlefield area. So this is what I've got going so far. And then as we move over here, you can kind of see what I was working on for the pillars here. Fairly tall, and then there's the inverted pieces kind of up top, and then the actual plate as well on the top, just to kind of give it that cool, smooth look to it. That's what it kind of represented in the screenshots. It looked fairly smooth on top. So this is what I've got going so far for this building, and I'm going to go ahead and get back to work and update you guys once I have some more progress. Alright guys, so I did a little bit more work on this building right here. You saw that I got that side done over there in the last video segment. I have now completed this side down over here. It's a little shorter than that side, so I had to kind of just have a smaller light gray area, but still surrounded by the sand green elements right there. Same height and everything. I've just been kind of building that for a while, and I've actually been building it on live stream. So if you guys ever are free when I'm doing a live stream, definitely come checking out. I'm live right now with everyone in the chat, so having a good time talking all things Star Wars and all sorts of stuff like that. So definitely stop by on the live streams if that's something that you might find interesting. We just kind of hang out and chat and build. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now. But here's a quick update on what I've got going on for this side. The next step that I'm going to do is kind of cover this with plates, and then we're going to kind of go from there and see what it looks like. But the building's coming along fairly well so far. I'm going to continue to work, and I'll give you guys an update when I get some more progress done. All right, so I've worked a little bit more on the building right here. As you can see, last video segment, you saw that I was working on kind of the outer wall of the building. I have now started to work on the tiled section up top. So if you remember from the screenshot, most of the building, like floor, is just completely flat. So I went with a bunch of tiles to kind of represent that. Now again, trying to make this in Lego form and adapting it from a 2D animation where there is a lot of flat kind of surfaces on the walls and everything, it's not looking as good in Lego form because now it just looks like nothingness because it's just flat on top. And the tiles give a really cool texture, obviously, when they're offset like that, but this is one of those examples of adapting it straight from the show might not work entirely in Lego form. So I think what I'm going to do is get rid of some of these tiles, and then essentially the design I did down here, I think I'm going to go up top and kind of do that same design, but make it uneven, as if the wall was going up and down but got blown off in a bunch of different sections. And then I think I'm going to essentially do this, very similar design to that, but more destroyed on this side right there. And then I'm going to kind of make this not as flat and smooth. So that's kind of my plan, because right now I think it's just too flat and too smooth. So good example of how adapting something right from the show might not work entirely in Lego form. So I think I'm going to change this up a little bit, but this is kind of what I've got going so far. I do think it looks good, but I'm not really satisfied entirely with it yet. So I'm going to continue to work on it and see what I can come up with. All right, guys, so I put in a lot more work on this building, and it's starting to look the way I was kind of envisioning. I had to change a few things here and there, but here's kind of the progress that I got done from the last video clip that you saw. So as you can see, I kind of did that left side right there. I added a little bit more to it and made it kind of destroyed with these pillars, so it kind of replicates this other side, which I thought looked kind of good, because it was kind of weird that the pillars were just on one side and not the other, so I decided to replicate it on the other side. And then I added that kind of wall that I was talking about, so now it's not just like a flat top to like the floor. So now we've got the wall, we go up, and then there's like kind of a part of a destroyed wall where you can kind of tell there was some sort of other wall that was there before it was kind of destroyed. And then we've got all the tiles as well that you guys saw kind of in the previous clip and a couple other ones where I was kind of doing those tiles. Now it doesn't look as flat because I added those walls in there, and I think it looks a lot better now. So the building is, I'm really happy with it now. I don't know if you can call it a building, because it's kind of just a structure that's been destroyed. But given the difficulty of trying to adapt the kind of source material, so the screenshots in this particular instance, trying to figure out how to adapt that into Lego form, I think I came up with something I'm pretty happy with here. So I hope you guys do like it. Obviously it's going to look really kind of weird right now because there's just nothing around it. It's just like the only building back here. But do keep in mind that like the path is going to go kind of all the way around it as well. So, and then also from the screenshots, you saw there was a lot of damaged elements all over the place, kind of like in the middle down here and stuff. So I'll be adding that in as well, but here's kind of what we are looking at. This was something that I kind of wanted to show you guys that I kind of came up with here that I thought was cool, was I was trying to make the destroyed pillars over here. So you can see I've kind of made them so they're leaning a certain way to make it look like they're falling off, and then you can see I've attached using studs and 1x1 plates. I've attached different parts of the pillar and like barely attached them so they're barely hanging on right there, and then I kind of tilted them one way so it really looks like it's kind of about to fall off, if that makes sense. So that's what I was kind of going for. I thought that was kind of a cool thing that would add a cool destroyed element, so that was something that I added in there. And here's just a closer look at that wall right there that I just added in with some different elevation, and then the tiles, which I think look good now, and I added in some cheese slopes, as you can see, at the end of each of the pillars down there, just to kind of round it off, give it a good sloped look, and then the back wall right there. So with the clone troopers down there, you can kind of see size reference, how big it is. It's a pretty big structure, which is good for scaling stuff, and it makes the MOC look good when you're kind of looking at reference pictures about how big the actual Muunilinst city is. But the problem with this being so big is that all the other buildings have to be just as big as it. So we'll see how that goes, but this is what we've got going so far for this building, and we've got our clone troopers down there taking cover, trying to push up with General Kenobi. I'm using this little piece of cover right here, but here's what we've got going. I hope you guys like what I've got so far for the structure. That is going to wrap it up for this episode. Got a lot done kind of building this whole structure, and I'm interested to hear some feedback. This is just kind of what I came up with this week while looking at the screenshots, so I think it's cool. I'm happy with it, but overall, definitely interested to hear what you guys have to say. Now, for next episode, I think I'm going to try to work on this side. So you can see I've built another one of those. I need to pretty much replicate that, but make it a little bit different. I've got some interesting ideas to kind of change up the pillars on this side. Again, the screenshot, you see there's another one on the left side of the frame. So then we'll have two, and the path will go through it, and you'll have a bunch of destroyed elements in there too. So that's kind of the plan for next episode, is to kind of do another one of these buildings. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Hope you like what I've got going so far for this building. Again, comments, definitely let me know how you're feeling about this structure so far, with the design, with the pillars, and this mix between the sand green and the light gray. So that'll do it for this episode, and let's move on to the outro. Here's just another look at what it looks like from some different angles. I've been kind of going around the MOC looking at the building from different angles, giving some good perspective on what this looks like from the ground level for the troops. One of the reasons I also kind of do this is when I look at the ground level, so I kind of like bend down or kind of go on the ground and look as if I'm a minifigure, if that makes sense, from a minifigure perspective. And one of the reasons that I think is useful to do this is you kind of can see the MOC in a new way, and you might think of new ideas or think of like, wow, it would be cool if I added something right here, because when I look down from this perspective I can see that little detail. So kind of sometimes that's what I'll do, is I'll look at the MOC from different perspectives, and then that'll kind of give me an idea of what might be fun to add to the MOC. So that's something that I do a good amount of the time when I'm building MOCs, just to kind of see what different things I can come up with when I look like from different perspectives on the MOC. I generally find that pretty helpful, so definitely try that out if you're kind of making a MOC, and try to see if you can think of anything new by looking at the MOC from different eye levels and perspectives. So I just want to do a quick thing on that. I thought it was interesting, so I thought I'd mention it real quick. Alright, that's going to do it for this episode. I hope you guys did enjoy. I had a ton of fun making this building structure. This style of Muunilinst with these giant pillars and everything like that, it's so much fun and so refreshing to build for me personally, kind of doing this new style that comes with the Muunilinst building and their architecture. So I'm having a lot of fun with this series, and I hope you guys are enjoying the videos. Stay tuned to the channel for the live streams. I'm going to start doing those hopefully more consistently and frequently, so stay tuned to the channel. Those are a lot of fun, and I'd love to have you guys there. If you haven't checked them out yet, you'll get to see some sneak peeks on the progress for the update videos for each week. So it's been a ton of fun so far, and I hope you guys are able to make it. And as always, leave your feedback in the comment section below. Hope you guys have a great day, and may the force be with you always.